In today's video, we're going to look at some American sports stadiums that were designed but never built. The projects ended up being canceled for various reasons, but the designs are still interesting to look at. In 1958, the Pittsburgh Pirates played at Forbes Field, which had opened in 1909. The Pirates thought of an incredible design to build a new stadium on the Monongahela River. A bridge-like platform would be built, and on it would be a multi-purpose stadium and home to both the Pirates and the Steelers. On the platform would also be a parking garage and a hotel. The stadium itself does not look all that unique, but the more interesting part is the fact that it would be on a bridge. If it had gotten approved, maybe they would have worked more on the stadium's design. However, these plans ended up being canceled and Three Rivers Stadium was built instead, most likely because Three Rivers was much easier to build and was right across the river. The Pirates and Steelers shared that stadium for many years until they each got their own stadiums later on. Today, the Pirates' current stadium is known as one of the best in baseball, and the Steelers is right next door. The Tampa Bay Rays play at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. It was built in 1990 and has been home to the Tampa Bay Rays since they became a team in '98. It has also been the home to the Tampa Bay Lightning of the NHL from 1993 through 1997. Many fans feel that it's one of the worst stadiums in baseball. Attendance is never very good, even when the Rays are. Overall, the dome design that they play in is very outdated. For years, there have been rumors of a new stadium for them. In 2007, the Rays unveiled plans for a new stadium that was supposed to be built within the next few years. The design was a waterfront stadium and would have been located in downtown St. Petersburg. There would have been a unique-shaped retractable roof that was glass. It would also have lots of natural light and been one of the more interesting stadiums in baseball. However, they didn't get enough financial support and were forced to cancel the plans. Over the years, several other designs have been proposed to look similar. There's still a good chance that the Rays will get a new stadium. In the NFL, the St. Louis Rams moved to Los Angeles in 2016. But before moving, they played football at the Dome at America's Center located in St. Louis. In 2015, the city of St. Louis wanted the Rams to stay and designed plans for a new stadium. It was going to be called National Car Rental Field. It would have been an open-air stadium right next to the water, just a ways down from the St. Louis Arch. This stadium actually came kind of close to being built. St. Louis approved $150 million for the new stadium. The cost was an estimated $1.1 billion, and the NFL and Rams were supposed to pay for the rest. However, the Rams chose to move to Los Angeles instead and share a stadium with the Chargers. They now play at SoFi Stadium, which opened in 2020. The Dome at America's Center is still up and used for various events in St. Louis. The New England Patriots play in Foxborough, Massachusetts, but represent all of New England. They could have possibly moved their stadium to Connecticut, though. In the late 90s, the Patriots played at Foxborough Stadium, which opened in 1971. The stadium was outdated and always had some problems really from the time it opened. Owner Robert Kraft knew they needed a new stadium and was looking at land in South Boston and Rhode Island, but the Patriots found a riverside plot of land in Hartford, Connecticut that almost worked out. Hartford really wanted the Patriots and offered them a great deal. The Patriots were extremely close to moving, but a steam plant was on the plot of land and would have to move. The complications that it would bring held up the deal, and the Patriots were able to work out a new deal to stay in Foxborough. Eventually, they built new Foxborough Stadium next to the old one, and they continue to play there to this day. Before the Oklahoma City Thunder played a game, they were a team called the Seattle Supersonics. They played at Key Arena in Seattle, but wanted a new stadium in the 2000s. They were unable to reach an agreement and relocated to Oklahoma City to become the Thunder. Years later, Seattle wanted to bring basketball back to the city and have the Supersonics return. There was a proposal for a new arena downtown, which had a really good-looking design and was approved in 2012. But in 2014, one of the major investors, Steve Ballmer, left to purchase the Clippers. This left them without funding, and that basically left it impossible. The Montreal Expos are another team that relocated and changed their name. After the 2004 MLB season, they moved from their home in Olympic Stadium in Montreal to Washington, D.C. They became the Washington Nationals, but before that, a stadium was proposed to help them stay in town. In 2000, Labatt Park was proposed to be in downtown Montreal. The stadium would have had a capacity of about 35,000. Overall, it would have been a pretty small stadium and would have costed just $200 million to build. But despite that, Montreal didn't want to spend the money. Apparently, the Expos were still paying off Olympic Stadium, which played into the decision. Because of this, the Expos were forced to relocate to Washington, D.C. The Brooklyn Sports Center, also known as the Dodger Dome, was a proposed stadium in the 1950s. The Dodgers played in Brooklyn, and before they moved to Los Angeles, played at Ebbets Field. A new modern stadium was proposed and would have been the first ever domed stadium. There are several different designs of the dome, but all of them are very interesting. Unfortunately for them, they were unable to get the plot of land that they wanted in Brooklyn. The only space they were offered was in Flushing, Queens, which later became the site of Shea Stadium. As for the Dodgers, they instead decided to move out to LA, where they've been ever since. The Minnesota Twins and Minnesota Vikings shared the Metrodome for many years. By the 90s, many people wanted a new stadium, and the Twins even threatened to relocate. In 1997, plans were unveiled to build a new stadium next to the Metrodome, closer to the river. The stadium would have a retractable roof, but much more of an outdoor feel. The designs sort of remind me of Globe Life Park or Minute Maid Park, and are a little bit more modern looking. Unfortunately for the Twins, funding was very complicated and unable to be worked out. The site instead went to the Guthrie Theater. As for the Twins, it got a little rough for a few years, with rumors that they would move to North Carolina or elsewhere. Eventually, though, they were able to build a new stadium on the other side of downtown Minneapolis called Target Field. The Chicago Bears play at Soldier Field, which is the oldest stadium in the NFL, opening in 1924. The stadium had a massive renovation from 2002 to 2003, where many changes were made. In 1989, though, there were proposals to make a domed stadium for the Bears in Chicago. This did not end up working out, and they did the renovation instead. However, recently new designs have been proposed to either add a dome to Soldier Field or build a new stadium altogether. It will be interesting to see what they do. The final proposed stadium that we will look at was the San Diego Floating Stadium. This one is by far the craziest. In the early 1960s, the San Diego Chargers needed a new stadium, and they were threatening to relocate. The Padres were a minor league team at the time, but San Diego wanted an MLB team. So a stadium was proposed to be used for both baseball and football. In the design, the stadium would float in the San Diego Bay. The home plate section of the stadium would be on land, and the rest of it would be floating. That would make them able to reposition it for things like sailing and boating events. The design could also be used to configure it to a football stadium. Overall, the stadium costed too much and was not used. Instead, they built Qualcomm Stadium for the Chargers and Padres, where they played for many seasons. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.